What is up, guys? Smooth here, back with another Minecraft video, and today I'm going to be doing a quick tutorial to show you everything you need to know about structure blocks. So right behind me over here I have a whole little setup to show you all the little details, but before we get into that, let me show you first how to add a structure block into your inventory. So you're going to type in /give @p structure_block, and just like that you'll have a structure block in your inventory. So when you place one down, it'll automatically default to data. You can cycle through them by pressing this button over here. So if I click it, it'll be DSLC, which will be data, save, load, and corner. But at the moment, let's first look at the data block. So if you'll see over here, you only have one little field and it says custom data tag name. Now this is basically not usable for anybody except developers at the moment. All it really does is it holds metadata that tells the game what to spawn in during natural generation. So since this world already generated, this will not have a function, but I did spawn this in over here, which is the endcity/ship. So if you guys want to spawn this in yourself, just type that in. You can go up and over here after it spawns, and I can show you some data blocks that this would generate. So if you look at this one over here, it says data century. And again, all it says inside the block is century. And when this will happen with natural generation is you'll see a shulker spawn in this place instead of the data block. So if you go in here as well, you'll see a couple more. So let's go right around here. And we have a handful of data blocks as well. So over here is data chest. And again, it says nothing but chest inside. And all it will do is basically put whatever the contents that they want inside the chest, the data block will have the metadata for it. So you'll have another sentry over here, which will spawn a shulker, another chest block over here, and this data elytra block will basically just spawn an elytra inside of an item frame. So it's basically a faster way for it to spawn a natural generation, but it's not really usable for most people at the moment. But it's probably going to be changed at some point in time, but it's worth noting that's what it is. So next up we have the save block. So there's two different ways you can save. Structures. One is a little bit easier than the other. The first way is a little bit more difficult, which I'll show you first, and it involves counting blocks and coordinates. So once you open up a block, again, you'll cycle to the second one, which will be save. So this one I already have kind of set up for you guys. So I named the structure test, and its relative position to the actual structure block is 0, 1, 0. I'm going to move all these around a little bit so that you guys can see how it actually works. And the structure size is 3 by 3 by 3. So you'll already see it has an outline which demonstrates the specified coordinates that you want. But let's say that I wanted to change this over here. I wanted to reduce the height. So if I press done, you'll see it will no longer try to save the top section of the blocks. On the same way, I could take this out over here, replace the 3 with another 2, and again, it will make it a 2 by 2, a 3 by 2 by 2. So let's set it back to default 3 by 3 by 3, and I'll quickly show you the coordinates as well. So if I move the relative position 1 over, you'll see that it'll move over here, and we'll have air blocks instead of some of the gold blocks that you saw. So okay, let's put it back to how I had it at first. So once you have it in whatever satisfied position and structure size you want, you will type in, you'll just press save, and it'll be right there, structure saved as test. So over here I have, next up is the load block. Again, you can pick where you want it to load. So for me, it's going to be the same place that this was here. So relative position is 0, 1, 0. And I'll show you structure integrity and seed in just a moment. But let's load this in. So I'm going to press load. And just like that, you'll have the structure, and it'll be an identical copy to the first one. If you press, the first time you press load, by the way, it'll just show the outline. I did that earlier, so you have to press load twice. So next up, I'm going to show you structure integrity and seed. Structure integrity is basically added into the game for fossils. So if a fossil would be added into your world, it'll have a variable structure integrity. So the lower it is, the less blocks will actually appear. So I'm going to break this down so that way we have an empty space. And I'm going to reduce the structure integrity. So for example, if I was to set this at 0.04, only 40% of the block will appear, of the actual structure will appear. So let's load this up, and you'll see I am now missing a handful of blocks. And if I was to reduce this even further, so let me reduce to 0.01, and you'll see I'll get very little coming out. So let's load this one up. Yep, you'll see I now only have a handful of blocks inside. So next up, let me show you what seed does. Now seed kind of functions similar to the way a seed actually works in world generation. So let's go to seed 1, and I'm going to set this at 0.05. So let's load this up, and this is what we get. So we get roughly half the blocks spawning in, and I'm going to change the seed for you quickly so you can see the point. So remember what this just looked like, and let's go to seed 2. Load this up, and you'll see it looks a little bit different. So now I'm going to go back to seed 1, and you'll notice that the structure will be exactly the same as it was on seed 1. As you can see, we have the same structure as before. So if you find like a particular structure integrity that you like and you want to set it to a certain seed, that's pretty much the way that you would do it. So let me just clear this weather out quickly. /time set day, and we are good to go. So that's basically the gist of it. So if you want your structure to decay a little bit, you would just add a random variable over here. And if you prefer a certain type of decay, you would just set it to a certain seed once you've actually already loaded it. All right, next up is what I would say the preferred way to save items. So again, it's the exact same thing as before. You want to just define a structure name. So for this one, I set it to test2, and you want to get 2 corner blocks. So you also want to set the corner block to the same name that you set the save block to. So over here, the only thing you're going to type in is the structure name, and you want to put it at the corner on each end of the block. So over here, it's going to be right over here. Anything that was, if I put like a random block over here, this wouldn't save it in because it's not in between these 2 blocks. You said it would be within the coordinates of this one, but this one will not calculate it. So once you have that, you'll press detect, and it'll look for basically where these 2 corner blocks are, which both have the same name as this one, and it'll count all blocks in between them. So you'll see it has the little outline to show that this is where it's supposed to be. So let me go above it and give you a different example. So let me just put this over here, call this one test2, knock this one out, and I'm going to detect it again. So let's detect it. Unable to detect structure size, add corner with matching. Did I misspell this? Oh, I called this one a corner. Oh, I called this one a data block. That was my mistake. All right, so let's go back up here. Make sure I set this as a corner block. Very, very silly of me. Test2, done. Erase this one over here. Now let's detect it. And you'll see it now will detect these 4 blocks above it as well. So that's the gist of how it works. So now if I was to load this one up, again, you see first, let's see, where is it? Structure test2 not available. Oh, I didn't save it. There we go. So let's load it up. So again, we have the same bound box as this one over here. I just changed the coordinates so it's a little bit closer to me. Press load one more time, and we now have an identical block to this one. So next up, I'm going to show you something else with save blocks, and you have 2 more things over here which says show invisible blocks as well as include entities. So if you look over here, you have these blue outlines for bounding boxes, which basically show invisible blocks of air. So if I was to turn these off, so let's show them off right over there. Again, you won't see them. They're basically just there for a reference point, so you want to know which spots would be empty. So let's turn those back on. Now you could also include entities off or on when you save it, but for now let's just keep it on. So I named this one Moo Cage. So let's go over here. This one is loading. Now I'm going to show the bounding box so that way you could see where I'm spawning it. I put the relative position to be 201, and I'm going to include entities on, which will spawn this mushroom in. So let's load it up, get our bounding box, and put in one more time, and we now have our mushroom in there. So if I was to break this all down, or just kill this mushroom here quickly, and then I'm going to respawn it without entities included. So I also broke a couple blocks, and actually let's let them roam free. This will be fine for now. So let's include entities off and load it up again. So you'll see, again, the parts that I broke are now back in, but an entity did not spawn inside. Something very basic, but it's worth noting. So now next up, we're going to go into structure voids, which I'm going to explain with these 2 things over here. So if you want to give yourself a structure void, you're going to type in /give@p structure_void. And this is basically what it looks like. Now, when you place it down, it looks basically invisible. You don't actually see anything like that. You just get this outline for a bounding box over here. I did place 2 over here, and you'll notice I don't have one over here. So I can place one, but I'm going to remove it, and I'm going to spawn it within this over here. So these 2 completely overlap, but you're going to see that there's a special effect that happens when you place these 2 over here, but not one over here. So again, just so you look at over here, the relative position is 201 and the structure size is 133. So this is the exact thing that I have outlined over here, and it's going to spawn exactly within this one. So we're going to go over here and we're going to load this one up. And you're going to see that the diamond blocks loaded and went over these blocks over here, but where I placed the structure voids over here, basically whatever blocks are already over there will basically stay, and then wherever I didn't put one, it'll be an air block. So that's pretty much the gist of everything you need to know about structure blocks. It's pretty simple, and it's a very, very effective tool for map makers to use. I hope this video helped you out. If it did, a like would be very much appreciated, as it does help me out a lot. And subscribe if you want to see videos similar to this one in the future. My name is Smooth, and I'll see you all later. Take it easy, guys.